Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Silence is often misunderstood in today's world. In a time where constant updates, opinions, and voices fill every space, being quiet is seen as passive or weak. But silence, when chosen deliberately, becomes one of the most powerful tools a person can possess. It reflects control, it reflects discipline, it shows that a person does not need external validation or the noise of approval to know their own path. True strength doesn't come from how loud you are, it comes from how deeply rooted you are in yourself. The strongest individuals are often the ones who don't need to shout, they don't need to prove, they simply live, act, build, and grow, and let their progress speak volumes. When a person chooses silence, it is not that they have nothing to say, it is that they have chosen not to waste their energy on what doesn't deserve a response. They know their energy is sacred, and it should not be scattered across meaningless conversations or battles that lead nowhere. Silence is the language of those who understand their worth. It's the posture of someone who has learned that power does not lie in defending your every move or explaining your every choice to people who will never truly see your vision. When you're deeply focused on building something real, whether it's your character, your craft, your career, or your peace, you begin to see that not everyone needs to be invited into your process. That kind of focus doesn't need to be broadcasted. It simply needs to be honored. There's a certain calmness in a person who knows who they are. They don't rush to correct every misconception. They don't fight to be seen. They don't beg to be understood. They live with an inner fire that doesn't need to burn through noise. It burns through action. That kind of calmness is mistaken for indifference, but it's anything but. It's the quiet preparation of someone who knows that time will reveal everything. And until then, silence is the most dignified and powerful stance they can take. In silence, a person listens more, they see more, they observe who really supports them, who respects their boundaries, and who deserves their trust. Words can be manipulated, but actions, especially in silence, cannot. You learn more by watching in silence than by reacting in noise. You start to see patterns in people, patterns in yourself. You start to detect the distractions you were once blind to. When you step back and grow quiet, the world reveals itself in a new way. Suddenly, everything becomes clearer. Not because it changed, but because you did. Silence also brings a kind of focus that cannot be manufactured in chaos. When you pull back from constant talking, explaining, and defending, you create space for real clarity. Your thoughts sharpen. Your goals crystallize. You become a better strategist, a better observer, and a better version of yourself. You stop living to impress others and start living to impress the person in the mirror. That's where the real shift happens, from external performance to internal mastery. This is the kind of silence that speaks the loudest. It's not empty, it's full. It's not about holding your tongue in fear. It's about choosing when and where your words and energy are truly needed. This silence is not timid, it's focused. It says, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I don't need to prove it to anyone. That is true strength. The kind that cannot be shaken, cannot be rushed, and cannot be broken by outside pressure. When others try to pull you into drama, into arguments, into emotional chaos, you have the strength to walk away, not because you're afraid of conflict, but because you've outgrown it. You no longer need to defend your value. You no longer need to shout your plans. You no longer need to broadcast your ambition. You just work in silence, grow in silence, and let the results be the noise. That's the kind of power that builds empires quietly. Focusing inward instead of outward is a decision that rewires your entire life. When your attention is constantly on what others think, what others say, and how others move, you lose sight of your own path. You become reactive instead of intentional. You start living based on the opinions, expectations, and judgments of people who don't walk in your shoes, who don't carry your burdens, and who don't share your dreams. That's a dangerous place to live from, because the more you seek outside validation, the more disconnected you become from your own voice. But the moment you choose to turn your energy inward, everything begins to change. You stop being pulled in every direction and you start moving with direction. You begin asking better questions, not what will they think, but what do I want? Not are they ahead of me, but am I aligned with what matters to me? This inward focus brings a kind of power that cannot be stolen. It brings peace. It builds resilience. Because when your attention is on your own growth, your own healing, and your own progress, you stop measuring yourself against someone else's timeline. You stop competing with people who aren't even running the same race. And in that shift, you find freedom, the kind that allows you to slow down, to breathe, to work deeply on the areas of your life that need you most, whether it's your mental health, your goals, your habits, or your purpose. When you focus on you, you evolve. You become the kind of person who builds rather than performs, who grows rather than proves. That kind of self-focus is not selfish, it's necessary. You cannot pour into others if you're running on empty. You cannot give your best to the world if you haven't given yourself attention, care, and discipline. Turning inward is how you strengthen the foundation. And once that foundation is strong, there's nothing external that can shake you. The discipline to let your growth happen quietly is rare, but it's powerful. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be praised, but few have the patience and humility to grow in silence, to keep showing up without applause, to keep building without recognition. But this quiet season is where your character is formed. It's where your skills are sharpened. It's where your vision becomes unshakable. You stop needing to post every step, to explain every move, to impress anyone. You find satisfaction in the work itself. That's when you know you're maturing, when you don't need an audience to validate your progress. Discipline means staying committed to your process even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. It means doing the hard work behind closed doors, trusting that the results will eventually speak for themselves. And they always do. Loud progress is temporary, but silent growth is permanent. When you build quietly, you remove the pressure of performance and allow yourself to make mistakes, to learn, and to get stronger without fear of judgment. You create a space where growth is real, not curated. That space is sacred. It's where you become who you are meant to be, not for approval, not for applause, but for purpose. In silence, discipline becomes your compass. You're no longer moved by trends, distractions, or comparisons. You wake up with intention. You use your time wisely. You invest in habits that compound. You protect your peace. And slowly, almost invisibly, your life begins to shift, not with noise, but with momentum. The kind of momentum that doesn't burn out because it's not built on hype. It's built on consistency. The people who make the most noise often do the least work. But those who stay silent and focused are the ones shaping something meaningful. They don't get caught up in showing off because they're too busy showing up. They're too busy becoming. And that becoming is what sets them apart. Their silence isn't emptiness. It's focus, it's presence, it's mastery. Your growth doesn't need an audience. In a world where everything is documented, shared, and displayed for validation, choosing to grow quietly is a revolutionary act. True transformation happens in the moments no one sees. In the late nights, the quiet mornings, the private struggles, and the silent victories. It doesn't require applause, likes, or approval. Growth is not a show. It's a process. And that process is deeply personal. The pressure to constantly prove your progress to others can derail your journey. It shifts your focus from becoming your best self to becoming someone who appears successful. But when you choose to stay grounded and keep your growth private, you protect its purity. You give yourself the space to make mistakes, to change your mind, and to experiment without the fear of judgment. When you constantly share your progress, you open yourself to external opinions that can weaken your internal conviction. People may question your pace, doubt your direction, or project their fears onto your journey. But when your growth is personal and quiet, no one has access to disrupt it. You're not growing for attention, you're growing for transformation. And real transformation takes time. It takes solitude. It takes honesty with yourself. These things don't thrive under the spotlight. They thrive in private spaces where your only competition is the person you were yesterday. There's also a psychological power in moving silently. It removes the pressure to perform. When you tell the world your goals too early, you create an illusion of achievement before the work is even done. You feel good just by announcing it. And that temporary satisfaction can kill your hunger to follow through. But when you hold your plans close, you stay hungry, you stay focused, there is no need to impress, only the need to execute. That's when you become unstoppable. You're not chasing recognition, you're chasing results. And results speak for themselves. In silence, you develop discipline. You build routines that no one sees. You commit to practices that shape your character. You learn to show up even when motivation fades. That inner consistency builds a foundation far stronger than public praise ever could. Because while validation fades quickly, self-respect lasts. Every private effort you make is a deposit in your confidence account. Over time, that account grows and you start walking with a quiet kind of power. Not the power to control others, but the power to control yourself. Staying quiet about your growth also helps you stay present. You're not thinking about how something will look to others, you're thinking about how it feels, how it aligns with your values, and how it brings you closer to your vision. It brings your attention inward, helping you tune into your own voice instead of the noise around you. You begin to trust your instincts more, you rely less on advice, and more on self-awareness. And from that place, you grow with authenticity. You grow in alignment with who you truly are, not who you're expected to be. The best kind of growth is the kind that sneaks up on people. One day they look at you and realize you've changed. Your mindset is sharper, your habits are stronger, your energy is different. They wonder when it happened, but it wasn't sudden. It was happening all along, in silence, behind the scenes. You weren't performing it, you were living it. That kind of growth is undeniable. It doesn't need a spotlight because it shines on its own. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to go quiet, withdraw. Build in private, train in silence, heal without sharing every scar, plan without announcing your every step. That doesn't mean you're hiding, it means you're protecting something sacred. Your growth, your focus, your becoming. The world doesn't need to know what you're doing. Let your life show them when the time is right. Until then, stay grounded, stay focused, keep watering the roots that no one can see, because the strongest trees grow in silence. Discipline over distraction is the dividing line between those who succeed and those who stay stuck. In a world engineered to pull your attention in every direction, it takes an uncommon level of self-control to stay focused. Distractions are everywhere, on your phone, in your environment, in people's opinions, and even in your own mind. The average person reacts to them constantly, jumping from one thing to another, never really finishing what they start. But the person who learns to resist the pull of distractions and operate from discipline builds a life of meaning, power, and progress. Discipline is not about harshness or perfection. It's about consistency. It's about choosing what matters most, even when it's not convenient, even when no one is watching, even when no one applauds your efforts. People often think discipline is just about doing hard things, but it's deeper than that. Discipline is about creating a system for your life that protects your energy, time, and purpose. It's saying no to what feels good now so you can say yes to what will feel great later. Distractions may offer quick pleasure, but they steal long-term peace. They fragment your attention, waste your hours, and leave you feeling empty and behind. Discipline, on the other hand, might feel uncomfortable in the short term, but it builds something solid within you. It builds confidence because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove to your own mind that you can be trusted. And when you trust yourself, you stop seeking permission, approval, or motivation from the outside. The world will always provide distractions, but discipline is something you must build from within. It's the decision to create a structure around your time so that your time serves you, not the other way around. It's the refusal to let entertainment, gossip, opinions, and noise rob you of your goals. Discipline is what allows you to sit and work when others waste hours scrolling. It's what allows you to keep moving forward when most people would give up. It's what separates those who just dream from those who actually achieve. And the truth is, if you wait to feel like doing something, you will rarely do it. But if you act out of discipline, regardless of how you feel, you begin to own your days instead of letting them own you. Discipline doesn't look glamorous. It's early mornings. It's saying no to distractions that others chase. It's doing the boring work, the foundational work, the quiet work that no one notices, but that changes everything. And most people won't see the value in it until the results become too big to ignore. They'll call you obsessed. They'll say you're missing out. They won't understand why you've gone quiet, why you've disappeared, why you're no longer involved in the drama or the distractions. But you'll know why. You're building something. You're not here for temporary highs. You're here for permanent growth. There's a kind of inner peace that only discipline can give you. It's the peace that comes from knowing you are doing the work, honoring your potential and protecting your future. It's the kind of peace that can't be shaken by other people's opinions or by momentary setbacks, because when you're disciplined, you don't panic when things get hard. You've already trained yourself to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. You've already practiced showing up on the days when it's the hardest. And that builds a kind of power that no external praise can ever give you. Discipline rewires your brain. It teaches you that fulfillment doesn't come from ease, it comes from effort. It's in the workouts you didn't want to do, the books you forced yourself to read, the time you spent refining your craft, the boundaries you enforced, the distractions you avoided. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you win. Not in a loud, flashy way. It's those small, consistent victories that compound into greatness. It's not about massive change overnight. It's about small choices made daily, choices that most people won't see, choices that eventually separate you from the crowd, because while they're still distracted, you're already ahead. Let others talk, you walk. In a society where everyone is in a hurry to be seen, to speak, to be heard, there is a rare kind of strength in staying focused and letting your actions tell the story. People will talk. They'll gossip, speculate, doubt, and criticize. Some will misunderstand your silence, some will question your absence, and some will even create false stories just to feel better about their own lack of direction. But your job is not to react to noise, it's to keep moving. Let them talk, let them assume, let them waste their time in words while you invest your time in work. Real progress doesn't happen in public, it happens in discipline, effort, and consistency that few ever witness. The more you talk, the more energy you leak. Every time you explain your dream to someone who can't see it, you weaken its power. Every time you defend your goals to someone who's never tried to build something, you waste momentum. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your vision. You don't need to convince others of your path. Those who truly matter won't need an explanation, and those who demand one often don't matter. To walk your path, stay on your mission, and understand that elevation requires isolation, not because you're avoiding people, but because you're choosing purpose over popularity. When you walk instead of talk, your energy stays aligned. You're not shifting your course every time someone doubts you. You're not changing your mind every time you're misunderstood. You're moving with intention, rooted in purpose. That stability is what creates breakthroughs. That consistency is what builds results. And in time, those results speak louder than any words ever could. You don't have to announce your every move. You don't have to correct every assumption. You simply keep walking. And eventually, the work becomes undeniable. That's when the people who once talked begin to watch, and those who once doubted begin to ask how you did it. It's tempting to talk, especially when you feel the pressure to prove yourself, but talking gives you a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into feeling like progress is being made, when all that's happening is the exchange of breath. Action is what transforms. Action is what builds. And the people who get the farthest are the ones who say the least and do the most. While others are busy presenting, you're busy preparing. While they're explaining, you're executing. And while they're posting, you're producing. That gap widens quietly, but it widens fast, until one day the distance between you and those still talking becomes undeniable. Letting others talk while you walk also frees you from unnecessary emotional weight. You don't carry resentment. You don't waste time correcting gossip. You don't let criticism paralyze you. You're too focused on where you're going. Your mind is occupied with what's next, not with what they're saying. That clarity, that emotional discipline is rare. Most people are reactive. They spend more time addressing distractions than building direction. But when you train your mind to ignore the noise and stay grounded in your mission, you become unstoppable. Your vision becomes your filter. If it doesn't serve your growth, it doesn't deserve your time. There's something powerful about being underestimated. When people don't see your work, they don't prepare for your rise. They don't compete with your moves because they don't know what's coming. That gives you an edge. You move in silence, grow in private, and then deliver results that no one saw coming. That shockwave only happens when you've kept your head down, stayed consistent, and refused to let the opinions of others derail your focus. It's not about revenge or proving anyone wrong. It's about staying loyal to your purpose. Because when you walk with purpose, the noise around you becomes irrelevant. You don't need to explain why you're quiet. You don't need to justify why you've pulled away. Those who are walking their own path will understand, and those who don't were never meant to. Not everyone will see your vision, and that's okay. Your job is not to make them see, it's to keep walking until your results become so loud that they can be ignored. Your silence protects your energy. Every word you speak, every conversation you entertain, every explanation you give, these things take energy. And if you are not careful, you will find yourself emotionally and mentally drained, not because of the work you're doing, but because of the people and distractions you're constantly reacting to. Silence is not about withdrawal from the world. It's about preservation of self. When you learn to be silent by choice, you learn to channel your energy into the things that matter. You begin to realize that not everything requires a response. Not everyone deserves your attention, and not every battle is worth fighting. The most powerful people are not the ones who speak the most. They are the ones who have mastered the art of conserving energy and using it wisely. There is a strength in choosing not to react. When someone disrespects you, when someone doubts you, when someone gossips about you, your silence can often be louder than your retaliation. It shows you're not easily moved. It shows you've learned to manage your emotional resources. Emotional discipline is a rare trait in a world that rewards loudness, reaction, and impulsive behavior. But when you choose silence, you send a message. I am not controlled by external noise. I control my own narrative. You protect your energy by choosing not to explain your journey to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. You protect your energy by staying out of arguments that bring no value. You protect your energy by listening more and speaking less. Energy is your most valuable currency, and how you spend it determines the quality of your life. When you talk too much, explain too much, or involve yourself in every situation, you start giving your energy to things that don't serve your growth. Silence keeps you grounded. It helps you filter what's worthy of your time and what isn't. It gives you the space to think before reacting, to plan instead of panic, to observe instead of getting overwhelmed. This calmness is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the understanding that peace is more important than proving a point, and growth is more valuable than being right. Silence also creates a barrier between you and chaos. The world is filled with noise, people projecting their fears, their insecurities, their negativity onto others. If you don't guard your energy, you will absorb all of it. But when you remain silent and still, you allow the storm to pass around you without entering it. You become the eye of the storm, calm, focused, and untouchable. People may try to provoke you, pull you into drama, or feed off your reaction, but your silence denies them access. Your silence becomes your shield. When you stay silent, you also develop a deeper connection with yourself. You begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. You start noticing what truly affects you and what's just temporary noise. That self-awareness helps you realign with your goals, your values, and your purpose. Instead of reacting to the outside world, you start responding from a place of inner strength. That shift is subtle, but life-changing. You no longer feel the need to be understood by everyone. You stop justifying your choices. You stop seeking validation. You simply protect your peace and move forward with clarity. There will always be people who won't respect your silence, who will think it's weakness, or who will try to fill the space you've created with their own noise. But your energy is sacred. It's the fuel behind your growth, your creativity, your focus, and your vision. And that fuel must be guarded. The more you protect it, the more you are able to direct it toward things that matter: your goals, your health, your purpose, and your personal evolution. Silence is not about cutting off the world. It's about choosing where to engage, when to speak, and who to share your energy with. It's about realizing that every interaction is an exchange, and not all exchanges are worth the cost. Your silence is a decision to rise above pettiness, distractions, and emotional chaos, a decision to create space for growth, a decision to keep your energy aligned with your highest purpose. It's a decision to own your power, not through reaction, but through restraint. And in that quiet restraint, your real strength begins to emerge. Growth is an internal battle, not a public competition. While the world encourages you to compare yourself with others, to measure your worth by external achievements and social approval, real transformation doesn't happen on the outside, it begins within. The true struggle isn't with someone else's success, lifestyle, or timeline. It's between who you are now and who you have the potential to become. That's where the real fight lies. It's in the private, personal decisions you make every day, the ones no one sees, no one applauds, and no one understands except you. The challenge is not about outperforming others, but outgrowing your own limitations, insecurities, and excuses. Most people spend their energy trying to look successful instead of becoming it. They chase validation, appearances, and fast recognition while avoiding the deep, uncomfortable work that leads to lasting change. But the individuals who truly rise are the ones who turn their focus inward. They become their own competition. They analyze their habits, question their beliefs, and hold themselves accountable, not for praise, but for progress. They understand that if you can conquer your own laziness, your fear, your procrastination, and your doubt, then nothing outside of you can stop you. Because the loudest enemy is not out there, it's in your own mind, and the only way to win that battle is through discipline, awareness, and a relentless commitment to personal evolution. Every day offers two choices: remain where you are or take one more step toward who you could be. That decision doesn't happen in grand moments. It happens in the small, ordinary choices. Do you hit snooze or get up? Do you scroll or study? Do you complain or act? These moments define the gap between potential and reality. And closing that gap is the essence of growth. It's not dramatic, it's not always inspired. Often it's boring, repetitive, and lonely. But it's in those very conditions that character is forged. When you stop seeking constant excitement and start embracing the grind, you begin to see that internal growth is not about feelings, it's about actions, no matter how small. People will often look for external solutions to internal problems. They'll search for motivation from books, mentors, or success stories, thinking that someone else holds the key to their transformation. But the truth is, everything you need is already inside you. The fire, the strength, the answers, it's all there. What's missing is the focus to dig deep enough to uncover it. And that process can't be outsourced. You have to face yourself. You have to confront the habits and beliefs that have kept you small. And you have to choose to let them go, not just once, but every single day. No one can do that work for you. Others can guide, inspire, and support, but the real labor is yours to carry. You are the only one who knows how many times you've lied to yourself, how often you've given up too soon, and how far you've drifted from who you were meant to be. But you're also the only one who can rewrite the story. That's the power of internal growth. It puts the pen back in your hand. And while that responsibility is heavy, it's also freeing, because it means you're not a victim of your past, your surroundings, or your mistakes. You are the author of your future. This internal battle is what separates those who evolve from those who repeat. Some people will live the same year over and over, calling it a life, because they never stop to challenge themselves. They get comfortable in familiar patterns, even when those patterns bring pain. But growth requires discomfort. It demands that you step into uncertainty, face your fears, and do the work no one claps for. And the only way to win that battle is to accept that the journey is yours and yours alone. The results may take time, the changes may be invisible at first, but with each internal victory, you reclaim your power, sharpen your focus, and step further into the person you were always meant to become. Let them misunderstand you. That sentence holds more freedom than most people realize. In a world where being seen, understood, and accepted has become a constant obsession, choosing not to explain yourself is a radical act of power. People will always create narratives about you based on limited information, their own insecurities, their biases, and their expectations. But your worth, your journey, your choices are not up for public interpretation. You are not obligated to explain your silence, your distance, your focus, or your growth. The truth is, no matter how much you clarify, defend, or express yourself, someone will still misread your intentions. And that's okay. Because peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from understanding yourself. Misunderstandings are inevitable. People see you not as you are, but as they are. They filter your actions through their experiences, wounds, and worldview. That means even your clearest truth can be distorted in someone else's mind. If you spend your energy trying to control how others perceive you, you'll exhaust yourself and delay your growth. Every moment spent explaining your life is a moment taken away from actually living it. You don't need everyone's approval to move forward. You don't need to be liked to be right. And you definitely don't need to be understood to be successful. Choosing to be misunderstood is not an act of arrogance. It's a declaration of self-respect. It says, I'm no longer shrinking myself to fit your level of awareness. It says, I trust my path enough not to beg for permission to walk it. When you're growing, evolving, and stepping into new versions of yourself, not everyone will be able to keep up. Some people will prefer the old you, the more predictable you, the version they could label and control. And when you refuse to revert back, they'll say you've changed. Let them. That change is your victory. That growth is your revolution. And if being misunderstood is the price of transformation, then it's worth it. The more you evolve, the less you explain. You realize that those who truly see you don't need constant reassurance. They trust your silence. They honor your space. They support your growth even when they don't fully understand it. And those who constantly demand explanations, they often seek control, not connection. They want to pull you back into conversations, patterns, and versions of yourself that no longer align with your truth. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them label you. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with what they cannot comprehend. When you allow people to misunderstand you, you also give yourself permission to focus on what really matters. Your energy shifts from performance to purpose. You start investing in your craft, your peace, your health, your goals. You no longer feel the need to share every detail or prove your progress. You become more secure in your own skin. That inner security is unshakable, and it cannot be granted by anyone else. It's the reward for choosing yourself, even when it means standing alone. Letting others misunderstand you also develops emotional maturity. It teaches you patience, restraint, and perspective. You stop reacting to every false perception. You learn to observe rather than defend. You learn to trust time to reveal the truth rather than trying to force it into the light. Not every lie needs correcting. Not every rumor needs a rebuttal. Your silence becomes your protection, and your results become your response. Most people are terrified of being judged unfairly. They bend, twist, and exhaust themselves trying to be seen in the right light. But those who are truly free don't need the light to shine on them. They carry the light within. They walk in alignment even if they walk misunderstood. They've realized that greatness doesn't come with constant clarity or universal agreement. It comes with commitment to a path that only they were meant to walk. A path that doesn't require a spotlight. A path that often begins in silence, is misunderstood by many, and is respected by few until the results become impossible to ignore. Let them misunderstand you and keep walking.